Afternoon. Good afternoon. I apologize we're a little late. It's a lot going on, and I appreciate you waiting, and I appreciate you tuning in. And thank you, members of the press, for being here. As a reminder, I'll be here every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, here today, and back again next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. As you can see, things are changing every day with coronavirus all across America, all across the world, actually. We're kind of entering a different phase. Cases are going up. We're coming upon the holidays. So I am asking you to keep yourselves informed, keep yourselves alert, keep yourselves aware. So tune in at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays if you can. If you can't, please sign up for a daily email at governor.ri.gov. But it's probably more important than ever that you stay informed so you have the facts and so that you can keep yourselves and your family safe. Okay, we'll begin as we always do with the data, and I'd ask you please to put the dashboard up on the screen. The numbers aren't good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You will see yesterday we reported 156 new cases for a test positive of 2.8%, almost up to 3%. By the way, you'll note that this dash is the same dashboard we put out yesterday. We're still waiting on some data from one of our labs, so later today we'll update it for the most up-to-date data. The bottom line is we're not in a good place. These are not the trends that we would like to be seeing, and it's clear that we have community spread all across the state. By the way, we're not alone. Pretty much every state in America right now is seeing their cases increase. Our neighbors are Connecticut, Massachusetts, really all around the country. I would say we are in we're at a very important point right now. So we're not where we want to be. Cases are increasing. Test positivity is getting up to 3%. That's high, that's too high. However, we haven't yet crossed that threshold where we would be into what some people are saying is a second wave, or where we have a runaway train. And so that's why I'm asking everybody now, let's buckle down right now. We have spent the past 7 months building warning systems, testing systems, contact tracing systems. We have a really fine-tuned machine so we can get ahead of the problems. This isn't the spring. We know what we're doing now. We know where the cases are. We can pinpoint the problem. But we have to take action. Now, you're saying, Governor, I am taking action. I'm doing everything I know how to do. I wear my mask. I'm being careful. I'm washing my hands. And I hear you. Man, do I hear you. I'm all set with this virus too. But the thing is, it's still here. So today I'm going to give you a few additional things that you can do right now, in this moment in time, so we can keep Rhode Island, keep our economy open, keep our schools open, and keep ourselves on a good path, and try to get a bit of a plateau instead of continuing to rise up that curve. Last week, our percent positive was 2% in the week. A 2% positivity for the week is high, and it's continued to tick up week after week. The new cases last week was 149 per 100,000. So way above the 100, which is that red line on the screen before you. It's the highest that it's been in several months. We did see a slight decline in new hospitalizations, down from 116 to 94. So that's good, but we're still seeing double-digit new hospitalizations every single day. So again, it's just not where we want to be. Okay, I want to start off talking briefly about testing. I announced a week ago that Rhode Island, like every state in America, is receiving for free from the federal government a new kind of a test from Abbott called the Binax Now testing system. Rhode Island is going to be receiving 300,000 of these test kits by the end of the year. That's a big deal. You know, that's exciting news. And the Binax Now is a completely different kind of testing. Doesn't require any machines. It's very rapid. You get your results in 15 minutes. And frankly, it couldn't have come at a better time. Last week, I was asked how we're going to be using our allocation of 300,000 tests, and today I want to share that with you. In consultation with our testing task force and advisory group, we have decided that by Thanksgiving, we're going to be deploying the Binax Now tests, 300,000 of them, in 3 areas. In our K through 12 system, in our community health centers, with a focus on high-density communities, and at our colleges and universities. But we believe that by using the test in these 3 scenarios, we can quickly identify positive cases. So in K-12, in high-density communities, in colleges and universities, there's a need for speed. We need to quickly identify positive cases and get people into isolation. And so that's how we've chosen, that's going to be our strategy starting on or about Thanksgiving. And I want to give a huge thank you to Dr. Alexander Scott and also the Testing Task Force for your work in advising us. I will say different states are doing different things. You know, some states are just doing all congregate care. Some states are doing just nursing homes. This is what we've decided to do because we think it's where we need the help and, as I said, where we need speed. On the topic of testing, I want to remind everyone to go get tested. Even if you feel great, even if you're not sick, consider going to get a test. You can sign up for free asymptomatic testing at portal.ri.gov. So that's for any Rhode Islander. It's free. You don't need insurance. Portal.ri.gov. Especially if you're working, if you're back to work, if you're a teacher, hairdresser, waiter, waitress, bus driver, work in a manufacturing operation. If you haven't been tested yet, if you're a member of the clergy, if you've been seeing your friends, if you went out for dinner last weekend with people who you don't normally see, go ahead and get tested. It's free. It won't take long. Make sure you get an appointment. Portal.ri.gov. I've been asked a couple of times at this press conference, hey, Governor, when I try that, they say I need insurance. They say I have to pay. So we've triple checked. If you're getting that message, you're going to the wrong website. Maybe you're calling your maybe you're calling your doctor. Maybe you're going to one of the independent labs websites. I know it's confusing, but the state-run portal.ri.gov, you ought to be able to get an appointment within a few days and get a free test. Last week, I set a goal of doing 4,000 asymptomatic tests in the week, and we got to about 3,500. So that's great. Not as good as 4,000, but I'm really happy with that. So that means 4,000 people between when I asked you last week, 3,500 people went out last week after Wednesday and got a test. And these are people who aren't sick. That's the important point here. This is for folks who don't have symptoms. By the way, I've heard from some people, friends of mine, who said, hey, I listened to you. I feel great, but I went out and got a test, and by the way, I'm positive. That's what we're trying to do here. The name of the game right now is to identify as many positive cases as possible, as fast as possible, and get folks into isolation and quarantine. So if you're one of the 3,500, thank you. And if you're on the fence about it, I'm asking you please to go ahead and get tested, even if you feel terrific. This is a very strange virus. We're learning more about it every day. And there's a lot of folks out there who test positive, but who have no symptoms. And it's really important we find you and put you in quarantine. Testing is not a silver bullet, but it's a very important tool in our toolbox. And I want to ramp up our testing as we head into this next phase of the virus. Okay, shifting gears, I want to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. It's around the corner. It's a lot of people's favorite holiday. It's a great time of year, and it's going to be different this year, like everything about 2020. Thanksgiving is going to be different. So, we just have to know that and realize it and deal with it the best we can. So my request to you is to keep it local this year. Um, I know that's tough, but I'm asking you please to consider staying home for Thanksgiving, even if you typically travel to see aunts, uncles, family, and friends. And it's not, there's no one's forbidding you, there's no official regulation. I'm just telling you, it's in the state's best interest if everyone stays local. It's in our public health interest, it's in the interest of our economy, and it's in your interest because you'll stay healthier and safer. The reality is, if you're traveling, you're seeing people who are not part of your consistent group. By definition, if you're traveling to see somebody who you don't live with, who you don't know, you're expanding your group. If you get on an airplane to go travel, or a train or a bus, that's doubly true. It's a higher risk. And obviously, if you have any symptoms at all, we don't want you traveling. By the way, there's other risks. There's a risk you might get stuck where you are, because if you do travel, you have to, if you get sick where you are, you can't travel home. And these are federal guidelines. You're not going to be able to get on an airplane if you have a fever or if you're sick. You're going to have to show a proof of a negative COVID test. And if you happen to be visiting and you spike a fever or you get sick, you'll be stuck wherever it is that you are. So the bottom line is, in light of everything, it's just probably not worth it to travel this one year. And I'm asking you to consider adjusting your plans to keep it local. Maybe have a virtual dinner with your friends who are in other states. We're coming into a tough period. Halloween, followed by Thanksgiving, followed by Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, holidays, having to come back indoors, flu season. It's going to be a rough couple of months. So if there's any concrete thing that you can do, like not traveling over Thanksgiving, we really would appreciate you doing your part for Rhode Island and keeping it local. Having said that, you may decide, for whatever reason, that you want to go be with family or friends. You may decide that you want to have your traditional Thanksgiving where you invite over 20 friends and family. I really hope you don't do that, but you may do that. You may say, these are our traditions, and you are determined to spend your holiday the way you always do, with all your friends and your family. So if you're going to do that, then we have a particular ask of you, which is to be very careful in the 14 days leading up to Thanksgiving. So I'm asking you now to make your Thanksgiving plans. I'm asking you to keep them small, celebrate with the people you live with, and stay local. That's terrific. However, if you're making your plans and you say, no, we want to have all my family over and we're going to be safe, fine, do that and be safe. But if you're going to do that, for the 14 days before Thanksgiving, I want you to really avoid social gatherings, avoid non-essential activities, avoid travel. Make sure that you and the people you live with are going into Thanksgiving healthy and negative. You probably ought to go get a test in the days before Thanksgiving, even if you're asymptomatic. This is the best way to avoid spreading the virus to your loved ones, and for us as a state to avoid having major problems in the weeks after Thanksgiving. We learned a lot when we brought the students back to college. The colleges and universities all around the country and in Rhode Island told their students they had to quarantine for 14 days before coming back to campus. As a result, when the students showed back up on campus, the percent positivity on college campuses was astoundingly low. So much so that all the experts said, this data can't be right. It was right. Kids wanted to get back to school, so they followed the rules. They did the right thing. They stayed in their houses for the 14 days before going to college. They got tested. They were all negative, and they showed up free of the virus. So that's what I'm asking you to think about doing. If you want to have a Thanksgiving holiday that's more normal with people in your home, or you want to go to somebody's home, then take it easy in the 14 days before the holiday and the 14 days after the holiday, and go ahead and get tested right before the holiday and maybe a week after the holiday. Because if you happen to get sick, we want you isolated. Okay, with that in mind, I want to share some guidelines that we've developed for a safe Thanksgiving celebration, and I'd ask you to please put that slide up. On your screen, there's some tips and suggestions for a few ways to safely enjoy the holiday this year. And I'm putting them up now in advance of Thanksgiving so we can get our mind around the fact that this is going to be a different Thanksgiving. By the way, I want to say this. Please, please follow these guidelines no matter where you are. These are guidelines for safe Thanksgiving. Get in your head, commit yourself to having a safe Thanksgiving. Whether you're in Massachusetts visiting grandma, you're in Rhode Island, you fly to see friends wherever you want to, these guidelines should follow you. Wear your mask, even if you're in someone's house. If they're people you don't live with, it is safer to wear your mask. Stay 6 feet apart, constant hand washing, constant hand sanitizer. Don't share food, don't share drinks. Avoid close contact activities like the family football game in the backyard. I know that's a tough one, but it's not safe. If you really have to do it, wear your mask, keep it brief, touch, no tackle. Like, do everything you can, guys, please. You know the rules. You know the rules. Wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. Do not leave your house if you're sick. Wear your mask, even inside. Eat outside if you can. These are all the things that'll make a difference. In an ideal world, your in-person Thanksgiving would only be with the people that you live with, the people you're around all the time. Maybe you could host a virtual dinner for your family who doesn't live with you. Maybe you could cook a meal and deliver it to your loved ones and have a very brief visit. Maybe, bring some food over to your loved ones and sit outside for a little while. Share photographs or Zoom. There's a lot of creative things we can do, and if we start thinking about it now, we'll have a better Thanksgiving. We put together a little illustration of what a safe Thanksgiving might look like, and I'd ask you to please put that up on the screen. So, this is obviously doesn't necessarily look like anyone's house, but it's the concept, which is in one home, separate the groups. Certainly, if you have older family members, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, keep them separate. Keep them in a different room. Maybe have some folks eating outside, some folks in the living room, some folks in the kitchen. If you're going to be moving around throughout the house, put your mask on. Keep your mask on. You'll notice a computer on the table in that picture. That's a family, virtually including their friends who aren't in the house with them. So over the past 7 months, we've learned how to do this. We've learned how to be creative. And I'm just going to say, there's enough talk about what we can't do. So I'm going to challenge you to have a great Thanksgiving and do it safely and get creative. Get creative and find new ways for this year, for Thanksgiving of 2020, to have a great time, but be ultra safe since we're not in a good spot right now as it relates to coronavirus. In that spirit, I want to take a second to talk about Halloween. Same thing. It's going to be different this year. I'm excited to announce the Safe and Spooky Halloween contest sponsored by the Department of Education and the Rhode Island Foundation. We're challenging all Rhode Island students to share how you'll be celebrating Halloween this year while following the public health guidance. I've already seen some pretty awesome, creative, fun, safe ideas. Virtual pumpkin carvings, building like a candy slide out of PVC pipe so you can shoot the candy out to the kids. Lots of fun stuff happening. So I would encourage the kids to get creative. Ride's going to pick some winners with the most creative ideas, and there's going to be cash prizes. There'll be 3 winners from each school category. So 3 winners for early learning centers, 3 winners from elementary schools, 3 winners from middle schools, and 3 winners from high schools. And each kid who wins will get $50. So it's a fun thing, and you can earn a little bit of money. Submit your ideas to backtoschoolri.com by Tuesday, October 27th at 4 o'clock to enter the contest. And we'll announce the winners and share the best ideas on the Back to School RI website. Okay, a couple more things. Switching gears entirely, I want to talk for a minute about a new initiative we have, or in addition to an initiative related to the economy. Today, I'm excited to announce a new resource available to job seekers through our Back to Work program. So as a reminder, the Back to Work program is an initiative that we started with our federal stimulus money to help people who've lost their jobs since March to get a new job and to get free job training and to get a new job. So today I'm announcing that in partnership with Google and a local nonprofit called Research Improving People's Lives, we're going to be launching a virtual career center and a first of its kind artificial intelligence powered job matching tool to help Rhode Islanders who are out of work. So if you're out there, if you've been laid off or furloughed from a retailer, the mall, construction, architect, I mean, it's, you know, a hotel, there's so much job loss. Check this out. Check this out. We want to get you a job. You can go to backtoworkri.com and you do a few things. First, there's job openings up there right now, and we post more every day. So you can see if there's a job interesting to you. There's also more than a dozen job training programs. So if you see a job that looks good to you, but you think you're not qualified, sign up for a job training. It's free. If this is what we're putting the COVID stimulus monies to do, you can get the training that matches with that job. But now, because of what I'm announcing, you can also chat virtually with Skipper. Skipper is our new virtual assistant, and Skipper will direct you to available job resources. So you can complete a career recommendation assessment. You might not know what you want to do. You might be, you might say, I'm ready for a change. So let us help you figure that out, what you want to do, and, give you a hand in getting into a new job. You'll fill out information about your skills and interests and receive personalized notifications specifically to you when there's a job opening that might be a good fit. A month from now, a few weeks from now, the site is also going to be housing our virtual career center, bringing together all of the state's job resources and supports, and you'll also be able to schedule a virtual meeting with a career coach and a job recruiter. And as I said, this is part of the existing $45 million commitment to the Back to Work initiative. I'll say this, I've been governor for 6 years, and I've been at this business of job training for a while. And sometimes the hardest part is matching people up. We have companies who right now in Rhode Island are looking to hire between now and the end of the year over 3,000 people. And they know what they're looking for. And at the same time, we have so many Rhode Islanders who are willing to work hard and desperate for a job. The hard part is linking up the two. So that's why I'm really excited about this virtual career center and this back to work initiative and the partnership with Google, because this is that. So if you're out there and you're struggling, first of all, don't be ashamed, because so many people are. Check this out. Go to the Back to Work RI website, have a session, put in your skills, put in your interest, and let us see if we can match you up with a new job. Speaking of jobs, I want to make an announcement about manufacturing. I want to acknowledge the manufacturing and construction industries who have been early leaders in helping us deal with COVID-19. I allowed manufacturers and construction sites to stay open the entire time, which was different than most states in America, because I trusted them to do the right thing, and they have, by and large, done the right thing. And I want to announce today that the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association, in partnership with the state, has created a manufacturing auditor program where a point person at each manufacturer audits their own operation for compliance with safety protocols. This is a fantastic idea, and I cannot thank REMA, the Rhode Island Manufacturing Association, enough for your leadership in stepping up to be part of the solution. I also want to thank the construction industry, who's recently created training videos on how to follow COVID safety protocols for safe construction sites. We know, look all around the country, there are outbreaks in manufacturing operations. You have to be in person to do the job, and you're often in close quarters. And so what this is there's an auditor in each operation, an employee there whose job it is to make sure that that company is keeping folks safe. It's a great idea, and I want to say thank you. Finally, today, I just want to take a moment to thank the people of Rhode Island. This is getting long in the tooth for everybody, and we're not through. We're not through it yet. There's light at the end of the tunnel, for sure. Every day we get closer to a vaccine, but we're not there yet. So, to our doctors and nurses, teachers, bus drivers, grocery store workers, nursing home staff, caregivers, public safety, all the frontline workers, many of whom have literally not had a day off since this started, I want to say thank you. Your jobs are the hardest. They've sometimes been scary. And your courage and resilience is an inspiration to me, and they keep us going. And I'm very proud of you, and I want to say thank you. I also just want to say a big thank you to the people of Rhode Island. You know, it's a scary time. Everybody's on edge right now. Everybody is on edge. There's not a person who hasn't been affected negatively in some way by this virus. And so I just want to acknowledge that. You're worried about yourselves, you're worried about your job, you're worried about your family, and it's just a tense time in America and in our state right now. The people of Rhode Island have distinguished yourselves in America as a people of resilience, innovation, caring about one another, following the rules, not for yourself, but to keep your friends and family and coworkers safe. And we've broken all kinds of records. Testing, highest per capita in America. Contact tracing, among the best in America. Asymptomatic testing, you know, time and time again, we continue to show the country how this ought to be done. Child care centers open first and most successfully. 2/3 of our kids back in school, So what that tells me is that Rhode Island is capable of great things. You are capable of great things, of great innovation, great resilience, and just rising to the challenge that has come upon us. Nobody wanted this, but it's here and we're dealing with it. It's come to us. So I guess I'm asking you to continue to challenge yourselves dig deep, to challenge yourselves every day to live carefully as we enter these next couple of months, which are going to be critical and will determine, how bad this virus is going to get. So every day, wear your mask. Let's set new goals for mask wearing. We're leading the nation in testing. Let's lead the nation in mask wearing. Set a new goal for how you and your family are going to have a Thanksgiving that is fun but safe. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I do not want to be up here saying we're going back to phase 2, shutting down restaurants, we're in full-blown up the curve surge. I don't want to do that. We won't do that, but everybody right now has to say, all right, what am I going to do? What am I going to do in a concrete way in my daily life to keep a lid on the virus? And even though you're tired and fatigued and sick of it, frankly, as am I know you have it in you because you've been just fantastic and strong from day one. I would encourage you to think of small, concrete things that you can do in the course of a day or a week, because every one of those will add up. Having said that, it is a time of stress and strain, and I want to remind everybody that it's okay not to be okay. We are struggling, people are struggling even more than ever with anxiety, with depression. All of that is exacerbated by distance learning, kids alone at home, exacerbated by a job loss, exacerbated by anxiety. So if you're feeling unsteady or depressed or anxious or suicidal or you need help, you're not alone. You are not alone. Don't be ashamed, get help. You can call if you're an adult and you're struggling with mental health issues, call 414-LINK, 414-LINK. That's for adults. It's 24/7, and we will get you to the right place of care depending on your needs. If you're a kid or a parent of a child, you can go to bhlink.org, bhlink.org, which is for children. I also have one final ask. Family Service Rhode Island launched a Be Safe campaign at the beginning of this to provide food, soap, and other necessities to families in need across the state. Since March, they've delivered over 26,000 kits of basic necessities to our hardest hit communities. We are running out of money. All of that happened on account of fantastic donations by the people of Rhode Island and foundations. We're entering the holiday season. It's getting colder. Needs are going up, and our coffers are shrinking. So I am here to say, if you're in a position to help, please text Be Safe to 44321. 44321, text Be Safe, and make a donation. It's the holidays, it's a great time to give. If you're lucky enough to be able to give, whatever you can give, $1, $10, $100, $1,000, it adds up. Or you can visit familyserviceri.org and see their website and make a donation to the Be Safe campaign. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Alexander Scott, and I will take your questions. I will simply end by saying there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. We continue to get vaccine briefings. Progress is being made, and in the background, in addition to doing everything we're doing with contact tracing and testing and such, K through 12, we're preparing for vaccine distribution, and rest assured, when they're ready, Rhode Island will be first in line so we can get Rhode Island back to a place when we can, move on at some point in time next year to a life where we don't have to live quite the way we're living with an ever-present coronavirus.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As the governor noted and occasionally happens, we'll be posting the new cases later this afternoon, and we'll get our updates at that point. It's important to know the cases are increasing, and it's something that we can, at this point, do something about. We have the systems that have been built, as the governor mentioned, at the state level that are in place. First-in-class testing, amazing work with our case investigation and contact tracing, our ability to help ensure that people are quarantined and isolating appropriately. The key that's going to get us through going forward is the tangible steps that you can take and you can encourage for the people around you. So as the infectious disease physician here for adults and kids, I want to continue to make sure that you have the science and the understanding behind why we're saying what is going to work to help us get through these next few months. And we've made it our duty to share with you as we learn what's happening. We did that in June when we saw with the protests, thousands of people came together. When masks were worn, we saw an extremely low % positivity among the folks who got tested after the protests. Bottom line piece of science, masks work. The next update is something that the governor just shared. With our colleges and universities, students at the beginning of this semester took very seriously the understanding that they needed to quarantine prior to arriving here and needed to quarantine upon arrival before they got tested in order to get going with classes. And students did that, and when they did it effectively, it worked. The % positivity was extremely low. And when Dr. Birx came to visit with us and has continued to engage with us, she's confirmed that nationally that was found. So we want you to understand that science of both stories. Wearing a mask works to stop transmission. And when you stay local, when you avoid social gatherings, when you avoid non-essential activities, it works to stop transmission. So we want you to apply that across the board, especially when you're looking at the people around you who you know, who you love. We talked last week about the fact that that's when people's guards are down. When you're around people in a casual setting, you see your coworkers every day, extended family members from outside of your household, close friends, they look fine. People think everything is fine, their guards are down, they take their masks off. That's exactly where we're seeing transmission occur. That's the primary place where we're seeing the striking increase in our numbers. So we want to make sure that you have the science behind the information to help us stop this. It's wearing your mask, and it's wearing it with anyone you interface with that you don't live with. Whether you work with them every day, whether you love them because they're a family member, whether you know them, whether they look like they're fine and they don't have any signs or symptoms, that's exactly where you need to wear your mask and stay local. The smaller your groups, the better. The more you avoid social gatherings, the better. As we're going into Thanksgiving, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all of the holidays that have been mentioned, as a society, we socialize during those times. So it's important for you to know the key things we need to do differently in our effort to stop transmission of coronavirus and to stop the increases in cases. We may work with our colleges and universities to tell students before they go back home for Thanksgiving, also stay local, avoid non-essential activities, avoid social gatherings, so that when they go home to their family members, they can be assured that they're keeping them safe. This is about how we're protecting those that we know and that we love that are around us in addition to what we have said previously, which is how to show that you care for people in public by wearing your mask, it's also taking these steps, wearing a mask, and decreasing your social gathering, social activity prior to engagement with people outside of your household. Those are two critical ways to stop transmission of coronavirus. So we want to make sure that as these holidays are coming up, you are equipped with tools that you can take with you and have that add to the systems that we have built that we know are in place. It doesn't matter if you're not able to do the things that you can do that we know will make a difference. Wearing a mask and staying local, avoiding social gatherings, avoiding non-essential activities. Think about all the different places where you can do that, particularly before you're going to see someone who lives outside of your household, even at a small gathering event. We know it's less than 15. The smaller, the better. Keep it to 5. Keep it to 10. The fewer people you're engaging with, the less likely coronavirus transmission is to occur. And particularly because for the holidays, you will be engaging with people that you love. This is the time more than ever to make sure that you're wearing that mask. And before you engage with those people, however small that group is, do these things like not going to social gatherings up until then, because any interaction you have with people without wearing a mask is increasing your risk of developing coronavirus and passing it on to grandma or auntie or your uncle. It's the ultimate way to show that you love them. How do we limit these non-essential activities and limit social gatherings? Just think of how often you are with people outside of your household in those socialized settings, and really stop those activities. Focus on going to work settings or wearing masks, they're structured. Focus on going to the store. In our store and retail settings, they're structured, there's distance, you're wearing a mask. Go to the pharmacy, go to the doctor's office, do those essential things that you need to do, but avoid the non-essential outings, the non-essential gatherings of people coming together where your risk is by far the highest. As the governor said, we're urging people to stay local and have Thanksgiving just with the people that you live with. The smaller the group, the better. Limit it to 5. Limit it to 10. You don't have to go to 15. You should not go beyond 15. The smaller the group, the better. Everyone wearing their mask is critical. Once you're with members of your family or people that you know that are outside of people that you live with. One other note we should all remember is that there are people who don't live with a partner or other family and who live alone. We need to stay connected to each other right now, especially people who do not have that support network within their own home. The holidays are a hard time for some people sometimes, and this year it might be even harder. So keep that in mind. Drop off a meal for someone, pick up the phone, have a Zoom get together. Let the people in your life know that you love them. That's important for all of us to be able to do. And limit the in-person gatherings to just the people that you live with. Another note on Thanksgiving is that the holidays sometimes cause stress within families. This year might be even more so. There may be hard conversations or different opinions about how to spend Thanksgiving this year. Let's all try to be kind to each other and patient with each other, especially with the people that we love, that we know, that we work with. Let's encourage and uplift each other. We all need to be extremely vigilant right now. I want to reiterate something I stated last week, that if anyone in the household has symptoms, everyone in that household should stay local in order to understand what is going on, particularly if the symptoms of that individual are more likely to be COVID-19, symptoms of new cough, of difficulty breathing, or loss of smell or taste. Those are symptoms in particular that if one individual in the household has a new cough, difficulty breathing, or loss of smell or taste, everyone in that household should stay home until there's a better understanding of what's going on. That's a way to keep transmission from occurring. That person who has those symptoms absolutely should be tested. Any kind of symptoms, certainly the ones that are more likely to be COVID-19, new cough, difficulty breathing, loss of smell or taste, you should absolutely be getting tested. And everyone in that household stay home from work or school until all of the sick person's tests are received, their rapid tests and their PCR tests if they have both. In addition to testing for symptomatic people, we also have a testing program for asymptomatic people that the governor has mentioned. If you don't have symptoms, it's particularly for people that fit into these categories: travelers outside of the state, people between the ages of 18 and 39 years of age, people who work in settings where they're coming in high contact with other individuals. The governor really acknowledged the folks who are on the front lines, first responders, folks in restaurants and grocery stores, barbers, bus drivers. High contact workers are also people we're encouraging to get tested. And then people who have attended some form of gathering where there were more people than there should have been, or folks weren't wearing their mask. We have the testing capacity that we're expanding to make available for those people without symptoms, particularly falling in those categories, to go get tested. And the key difference to tell you is you can get tested weekly, get tested regularly, being able to go back, particularly if you're a high contact worker, teacher, or otherwise who's continuing to go to work and do the important things that you're doing. You can continue to get tested on a regular basis. That's what we are opening up and want to encourage weekly, whatever works for you to be able to do. Separately, I want to say a word about business compliance. As I said last week, we are getting more serious about enforcing compliance with mask wearing, knowing how critical it is, and our other public health requirements in business settings. Thankfully, and it's why we're encouraging it, most businesses are doing a very good job with this. It's why we are saying it's okay, go to shop, get what you need, and then return back. But we still have some room for improvement with a small group of businesses. For example, if you're not wearing a mask and you are a barber, we are going to close you down until we can be sure that mask wearing is happening. It's too critical right now. In an office setting where employees are not wearing masks in common areas, we are going to issue fines for each employee without a mask on. The same goes for people in food services or in other entities. Like I said, most people are doing well, but we want to focus in, because this is such a critical activity, we want to focus in on the ones who aren't and make sure that mask wearing is occurring. Shifting gears, as I do every week, I want to provide an update on what we are seeing in our case investigations. Between October 6th and October 12th, we identified 1,209 new cases. Younger adults between the ages of 19 and 24 continue to be disproportionately represented in our case data. While this age category comprises 9% of Rhode Island's overall population, it represents 21% of Rhode Island's cases during this week period. While transmission in informal settings between acquaintances and friends continues to drive our case numbers, we are also seeing a lot of workplace-associated cases, particularly in areas where people are socializing and gathering together, not in the structured part of their work environment. We know that break rooms, carpooling, and improper mask wearing are factors that are involved in most of these cases. Something else we're seeing is cases associated with religious gatherings. Also, where socializing is occurring. People's guards are down, you're with people you feel comfortable with, they seem to look fine. That's where we need the message amplified. It's the most important time to wear your mask. Between attending a religious gathering, we've been working hard to get guidance out to faith leaders. We had an excellent call with faith leadership this week, and they're going to join with us in amplifying this message, even when it's comfortable, even when you don't think it's needed. Mask wearing and that distancing is critical. Something else that we're seeing is an increase in the social gathering size. The average social gathering size for this particular period, October 6th to the 12th, was 27.6, which is an increase from the prior week's average gathering size number of 22.9. That's going in the wrong direction from what we're trying to say. Go even smaller, stay local, wear your mask. This trend is compounded by the fact that many people who have reported having attended a social gathering initially are refusing to provide information on the size, the location, or the attendees at that gathering. This is harmful for all of us as a state. We need you to cooperate with us. When you test positive after attending a social gathering, if you then decide to not provide information to the Rhode Island Department of Health when we call you, you are potentially contributing to serious health consequences for the people around you, the people that you know, the people that you love. We will only ever use the information you provide us to help the people around you. Another ask I'm making is to please answer the phone the first time that our case investigators call. Again, this is about the partnership. We know what we have at the state level. Here are the tangible things, all doable for each of us to do to help get us through this together. We are confident that we can turn our case numbers around and start moving in the right direction again, but that's only with you doing your part. So with that, we will get started with questions.
Governor, traveling to other states near our neighbors, Governor Lamont said he wants to have an agreement like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut have with Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Is that it? Are talks underway with that?
Yes. I think I'm very interested in that. Obviously, as we've talked about here, I've been trying to have something like that with Governor Baker in Massachusetts, because I think that we share so much commerce together. But in fact, just earlier today, I connected with Governor Lamont. He's in favor of it, very much so. I've reached out to Governor Baker, so it's something that I would favor, and I hope that we can do it. I just need a little more time to work on it.
Has Baker been calling back, or?
Yeah. I just reached out late last night. I'll get with him today, and we'll talk it through.
Doctor, do we have a sense of, or even a hard number of the amount of asymptomatic people who are testing positive? And then secondly, can you paint a picture, either rough or exact, of the severe cases that we're seeing, so hospitalizations and deaths, the demographics of those folks?
Thank you for that. So asymptomatic cases are more prominent in our younger population. More than 50% of our 20s, 30-year-olds are among people that are asymptomatic. That's why our message is most critical for that group, and why it's understood that those age groups feel that everything is fine and are going about their business. So that's a key place for us to sound the alarm about what's going on. And in terms of the numbers that we are seeing, I want to make sure I captured your second question effectively. It's, are we seeing anything different in our outcomes with hospitalizations and otherwise?
Well, I guess in layman's terms, are we seeing more elderly folks with severe pre-existing conditions in hospitalizations and deaths, or are we seeing someone who's perfectly healthy 32-year-old turn up with a severe case?
No, unfortunately, coronavirus is consistent in how it impacts people that end up being hospitalized or end up dying. There's still the focus on folks who have underlying illnesses or are frail and elderly that are at higher risk of hospitalizations and death. It's possibly why we're not seeing as many of the increases in hospitalizations, but it's also why we really want the message to the younger, healthier feeling individuals who are out there, although you may feel like you're fine and you're not at risk to go to some form of social gathering and not wear a mask. What ultimately happens is somehow there is exposure to someone who is at risk, and then that person is in the hospital or has some other negative preventable outcome. And so everyone really getting involved in wearing their mask, regardless of how they feel, particularly those populations that are more likely to not have symptoms, is a critical message.
Can I follow up on that?
Yes.
People who test positive or asymptomatic, how often do they then develop symptoms? How severe is their illness? Is there any difference between the asymptomatic people and people who test positive symptomatically?
The key difference is the symptoms. There's a portion of people who are asymptomatic early on in their illness and then can go on to develop symptoms. But there are many people who just have no symptoms throughout the entire course of their illness. And again, that's particularly in the younger, healthier population. Dr. Birx referred to it as invisible spread. And it's our focus with this messaging: wear your mask, stay local, avoid gatherings socially, avoid non-essential activities, get tested, because these are ways to combat the invisible spread that is happening, particularly among the younger, healthier population.
Roughly what percentage of those people who asymptomatically test positive never develop symptoms?
Let me get back to you on what that actual number is.
Governor, a recommendation for people to take it easy. Go ahead. Governor, on your recommendation to play it safe for 14 days before Thanksgiving, there may be some people, my guess is maybe some teachers who've been critical of going back to school, that may throw going into school as maybe not a great place for kids and teachers to be in the 2 weeks leading up to Thanksgiving if they want to get together with family. What do you say to people about that environment and others that they should avoid? Or I'm gonna guess you're going to say not to avoid that, but leading up to Thanksgiving.
We haven't seen any evidence of widespread spread in schools. You know, just look at the data. Schools are pretty safe. In fact, as I've said so many times before, and it still continues to be the case, the prevalence of the disease is higher in the kids who are learning virtually from home than the kids who are in school. I think the reason for that is they're structured environments. Like if you're sitting in your seat with a mask on, several feet apart, that's a structured environment. So we haven't seen any, there's no data in Rhode Island or actually anywhere in the world to suggest that schools are a vector of spread. The problem are the social gatherings. When we get close, we hug people, we take our masks off, we share drinks, we share food. That's what's the problem.
Have you seen any spread from kids to their family members, kids who have gone to school? And just, I've also heard some people say that the contact tracing system in schools is a little bit of a lag, and how soon are they getting the information if somebody, a close contact is tested positive?
I'm actually going to let the doctor answer that because she's on top of both of those.
So children are less likely to spread within the school settings where there is structure. Whether a child or an adult, when you're in a setting where there isn't structure and no mask wearing, there is a higher likelihood of spread to occur. So it can happen where children and adults end up being positive. Oftentimes, we see adults who have been out socializing becoming positive, and then the child becoming positive. It's sometimes not easy to tell, but it's knowing that they're in a household together, socializing as they normally would without wearing a mask, And that really highlights the importance of just the mask wearing itself. From the contact tracing piece, I really want to acknowledge my heroes in all of the folks that are working on case investigation, contact tracing, our testing, our laboratory. Those are the systems that people are doing 12, 14-hour days to keep running strong. What we want to make sure is that people also have the information. If you have symptoms, you should not be sending your, if your child has symptoms, you should not be sending them to a game to participate in, whether or not masks are worn, and exposed to other individuals. We want to tell people now, the less you interact socially, the less likely it is for you to transmit the virus. So when workers are going out to dinner together and exposing each other and then going to work, that's going to contribute more to transmission. And we've had that happen among workers within the K through 12 system. So what's key is people understanding if symptoms are present, be able to stay home. If you have someone in your household that has symptoms, particularly the new cough, difficulty breathing, loss of smell or taste, have everyone stay home until testing can occur. These are things that as our team reaches out to inform individuals, they already have in mind the things that need to be done and are not out and about with those symptoms still causing spread to other individuals. I hope that answers it, Brian. I can certainly share more.
Follow up to Brian's question. We've heard that there may be incidents involving soccer teams, that some referees are now quarantining and so on and so forth. Are those the games that you're referring to?
There are a number of examples. And so some of them, yes. I mean, it's just the key of knowing if symptoms are present, you need to not be outside and get tested immediately.
Doctor, as of this morning, COVID exit strategy, which is run by a consortium of universities and public health agencies, reported that Rhode Island is at 86% of capacity for hospital beds and 89% of capacity for ICU beds. So first, is that accurate?
No.
And what are the numbers correctly? And is there any possibility of utilizing a field hospital?
No, so I appreciate you raising that. We have had multiple conversations with the national entity that feeds information into COVID exit strategy about correcting data points. So this is one that we'll be reaching out to them to correct. Our hospitals are ready. They have the capacity that's needed. There isn't any intention of moving to a field hospital because of the capacity that is available in hospitals currently. Also giving what I had shared about more younger individuals being infected, asymptomatic or symptomatic, so they're not the same numbers in the hospitals the way we saw early on in the year. So we'll reach out to that national entity and make sure the numbers get corrected.
What are the occupancy rates right now?
I will get back to you on those numbers as well. For sure.
Governor, you're not just, I have a question for the governor, doctor. You're not just the governor, you're also a resident of Providence. Last night was the most violent night since the night of the riot, 21 arrested. Have you spoken to Mayor Lorza or any plans to maybe implement some sort of a curfew?
So I've been speaking with him. I haven't spoken with him today. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Providence Police, who I thought did a fantastic job last night under enormously difficult circumstances. I also want to say protests are good. We need them. Violence is never acceptable. And it was striking to me that the young man who tragically is now in the hospital, and I hope he's well, his parents were saying, please leave. We had a peaceful protest. It's time to stop. And then the violence began. So arrests were made, as you say, and I think the police handled themselves well under really difficult circumstances to try to keep the peace. Whether or not the mayor imposes a curfew is his call. what I have said to him is we, the state police stands at the ready to assist as we have throughout all this violence. Sadly, we're gearing up for a rough month or so at Halloween and after the election. So it's the mayor's call if he wants a curfew. I'll support him, and the state police is working really well with the Providence Police to keep the peace.
This business of the bikes on the road. Now, again, is this something your neighbors deal with? Mr. Smiley has experience with the mayor. Something needs to be done, but it doesn't seem that the Allures administration has a solution as to what to do about these bikes.
Something does need to be done. Many of these bikes are illegal for use on the streets. You will see them on the streets driving the wrong way and to oncoming traffic, doing wheelies, etc. And I know the mayor is working hard on it, and I agree with you that action is required.
Now, back in June, you saved a lot of trouble when you called out the National Guard. Any thoughts? I mean, Halloween is Saturday night. The protesters are not going away. Any thought about the National
If
Guard?
it's necessary, we'll go there. We're not there yet. But we're talking about everything. Let me say this to the people of Rhode Island. We are planning for every eventuality. And I am not worried. I am confident that between the state police, the local police, the National Guard, if we have to go there, Rhode Islanders should feel confident that just as we handled it in the summer, we'll handle it safely and keep the peace for whatever comes our way.
But you're not afraid. I mean, last week they were on the highway.
Yeah.
21 arrested. There's a feeling, Governor, that Providence is out of control.
Again, you ought to direct all this to the mayor. I don't want to get in the way of whatever plans he has in place. My position is there's no place for violence. Those who are planning it should rethink their plans. And if they do it anyway, certainly the state police will be there. And if necessary, the National Guard to provide support, because the people of Rhode Island deserve to know they're going to be safe. Anita's been waiting.
Naturally, I want to talk turkey here. So the logistics of
Say
things.
again, please.
I said naturally, I'm going to talk about turkey here.
Oh.
Logistically, it seems as though it's going to be a nightmare as far as serving food. You said not to share food. You carve a turkey, you share. Can you speak to people who are planning their dinner and how they have to logistically handle this, and to the people who say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do regardless of what you say? You can't control the people I have in my house.
Yeah. So a few things. There are people who say that. I hear it every day, Anita. And it's true. I cannot control what happens in your house. And by the way, I'm not going to try. Like, I am not going to have some kind of enforcement going around to your home on Thanksgiving. But I will say this. If you have that attitude, and if you say, I'm not wearing my mask, I'm going to have a big party, you just need to know you're contributing to other people losing their lives and other people losing their jobs. If a lot of people do that on Thanksgiving, I know what's going to happen. More people will be in the hospital, more people will die, and more people will lose their jobs because we're going to have to throttle back on the economy. So, of course, you're free to do it, but it's selfish and it's wrong. And I don't think that's the Rhode Island spirit. I don't think that's the spirit that has gotten us this far. The spirit that has gotten us this far is the spirit that says, I love this state. I love my neighbors and friends and family. I love the fact that Rhode Island, I want you to be a part of helping Rhode Island. I don't want you to be a part of hurting Rhode Island. And so that's, what I would ask people to think about. Like right now, we still have an opportunity to influence the end result here. We don't have runaway cases. To answer your question, we'll get the exact data. We are far below 50% capacity. I am not worried at all at the moment about opening a field hospital. So let's not get there. So don't say that at Thanksgiving. Do the right thing so we don't get there. Do you have specific guidelines for food preparation and such? Yeah, I'm going to let her handle that.
The critical piece in the holidays, the biggest takeaways we want people to understand is the mask wearing and the value of avoiding social gatherings leading up to a particular time when you're going to interface with a loved one, particularly someone that has risk of illness or is frail and elderly. Things like not sharing food is more so referring to, using the same utensils, you eat from it, and then someone else that you don't live with eats from it. It definitely is expected and understood that for Thanksgiving, you have one big turkey and you cut pieces and give that out. Those types of things are fine. Hopefully, there's not more than 5 or so people. Ideally, you're giving it out to people that you live with, and that's it. Everyone else can watch on Zoom. But the key is the mask wearing, keeping your numbers small, staying local, and avoiding those gatherings that we know are putting people at risk.
Governor, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, as we've looked at the moped Providence police incident videos from every different angle, it does appear that none of the Providence police officers are wearing masks. Is this something that has been brought to your, I know it's been brought to your attention because we've brought it to your attention, but in recent times has been brought to your attention? And why is it that we seem to find police officers often not wearing masks while on duty?
Yeah. It's frustrating and disappointing. And when I see the videos, I have the same reaction, which is, come on, guys, we've been at this for 7 months. You know you're supposed to wear your mask. Could you please wear your masks? Having said that, in the heat of the moment, you can imagine you're getting things done, you're hustling quickly, and somebody might forget to put their mask on. So I'm not excusing it. I understand it. And I'm asking everybody, nobody's above the law on this one, including police, myself. Let's go. Strap the mask on and don't forget it. It's not excusable, although, of course, I can understand it. If you're responding to the scene of a crime and your adrenaline's pumping and you're getting in there, you can imagine why it might happen.
One of the reactions I've already seen, to your announcement on the jobs program and how you're using $45 million of the CARE money for that, but still criticism that enough money has not yet gone out to small businesses. Why not redistribute some of that, I guess?
Well, we've put out over 150 million, the vast majority to small businesses. I also have to help the people of Rhode Island who are out of work. If you're listening to me and you worked at a retail store or the mall or a big box retailer for 20 years or a hotel, you're out of work and you're scared because those businesses might not come back for a long time. So I have to do both. We have to do both. We have to help small businesses, but we also have to give a hand to the individuals who need a job. I will say, if you look around, we're way ahead of Connecticut, for example, on getting money out the door quickly to small businesses, ahead of Massachusetts. We may do more. I'm not saying we shouldn't do more, but we're going about as fast as we can go in order to get money out to small businesses.
Thank you.
Bye.